What circumstance he's in, he always finds a way to be his best and get the job done and help the guys around him to get their job done. And he and Coach Belichick are an unbelievable combination, the best that ever walked in this league.
Yes, but does Tom Brady still instill that type of fear in opponents today as we approach this Sunday?
I think the audience might be a little surprised by what I'm about to say here, but absolutely unequivocally, yes. Team should still fear Brady. I know he's been bad this year. It's the worst year he's had in at least 15 years, maybe the worst year since his rookie season. And the numbers are ugly, and they're particularly ugly when they're not only compared to his career, but to his contemporaries in the league right now. Because what a 90 passer rating in 2019 is very different than a 90 passer rating in 2009 or in 2004 because of the passing revolution. And the biggest weakness for the New England Patriots right now is their passing attack and is the lack of high-potency offense. But this is where, and I've said many times, just because you're the GOAT doesn't mean you're the GOAT every single year. Just because you're the greatest ever doesn't mean you are the greatest currently. But this is where you do get that greatest of all time extra credit, at least to me. When I'm watching the Patriots, if I bet against the Patriots, if I'm rooting against the Patriots, no matter how poorly Brady has played, if they are on the field down less than a score, it's terrifying because you have nothing but memories of this guy for 20 years coming through in those moments. So and Jason Garrett's got to be afraid of this game for a lot of reasons. One is for his own job security part of it. But where I can look at the numbers and fairly analyze Brady the way he's fairly analyzing himself. He and the passing offense have been substandard all year long, whether that's offensive line, receivers, quarterback, player, all of the above, Greg, and it probably is all of the above. Everyone owns a little bit in this team not having more punch in their offense. But still, he's on a short list of quarterbacks that if it's a 4-point game in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes left, who do you not want to have the ball? No matter how many quarterbacks are ranked above him, there's only 2 or 3 in football that you would feel more confident in that situation, even this season, at least for me, when I'm watching the Patriots. Maybe too much of that is the ghost of Christmas and Tom Brady's past, but it still is that relevant in my mind's eye, and I think that's what Jason Garrett's talking about.
Okay, so before I answer the question, I'm going to address Jason Garrett in his presser. I've always hated when coaches lather on and massage your opponent. I get it, you're going to pay them respect, but come on. Like, we all know how great Tom Brady is. For his guys to hear him say all these things about Tom Brady, it's like, look, coach, you're not saying that to us. You can say he's great, he's been great, he and Belichick have done some special things, and just move on from there. You don't have to keep listing everything. I don't like when coaches do that. I just had to share that. Now, to answer your question, no. No, I agree with everything you said. But the reason why Tom Brady shouldn't put fear in anyone is because of the pieces that he lacks around him. The lack of playmakers that he has. Edelman being the only guy that he can truly rely on. Outside of that, Philip Dorsett, Mohamed Sanu, I like these guys, but I'm not threatened by them. And so ultimately, it falls on Brady to say he can't do the same things that he would do had he been younger, or if he were younger, and if he were doing it with Randy Mosses or Antonio Brown
last year. Greg, who did he have last year besides Gronk occasionally in the lineup? That it was such a different offense that he had last year that they marched their way to the Super Bowl.
I guess what I'm saying is he's going to always be Brady. To your point, in the waning moments of the game, does he strike fear in you? Yes. Because of exactly what you're talking about. Historically, we replay every game-winning drive or the one that has haunted us the most about Tom Brady. And that's what we don't want to happen and don't want to see in that moment. So, yes, you're going to be on the sideline standing as a player like, anxious. Okay, here he goes again. Come on, defense, stop him, because you know what he's capable of. But without the supporting guys, he can't do it the way he once did.
It's the opposite feeling that you get if your team's playing Phillip Rivers, where you're like, well, we might be okay because he might just give it to us. And so no matter what the history says there. But Jenna, to quote a line from misquote a line from one of your favorite shows, you just yada-yada'd the Gronk. I mean, this is the guy who on a per-game basis, I would argue, is the most impactful tight end ever.
Yes.
And that's with respect to Shannon and Tony, who did it far longer, and I know how great those players were. But Gronk, even last year, a lesser version of himself. In the overtime against Kansas City, Gronk showed up, and on the only touchdown drive of the Super Bowl, Gronk showed up. But the other thing that was different last year is, last year Tom Brady had two things to rely on, aside from Rob Gronkowski, he does not have this year. One is a far better offensive line, and the other is a far better running game, to where teams had to sell out against the Patriot run and allow Tom Brady those better looks, which he could then take advantage of. Now, again, I just want to be clear on this, though. Despite all that, he still scares me. As a guy who, I don't want to say I root against the Patriots, but I find myself betting against them a lot. It cost me a lot of money over the years. And so in those instances, rooting for my bets, you get anxious if Brady has a chance to drive the field and win the game, no matter how poorly he's played up to that point.
But you're assuming that between these two teams, you're going to get to the point where they are down to one final drive. I don't even know if the Patriots can hold with the Cowboys to the point where all it's going to be is one final drive for Tom Brady.
Oh, well, listen, I think the Pats are going to win. I wouldn't be shocked if the Cowboys win. I would be shocked if the Cowboys blow them out. If the Cowboys take a game where they're basically a touchdown dog and Brady, the Pats are down so much late that it doesn't matter if Brady drives the field late. The question for this football game is going to be, how much can the Cowboys defense create pressure on Brady? Because that's, Greg, where he's been, no matter the GOAT stuff, where he's been very poor all year long.
And the Cowboys have been inconsistent in creating those pressures, so we'll see what happens.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, Ben Simmons did the unthinkable, and yada, yada, yada. We're talking about it next on First Things First. Never yada, yada over the bet.
That came natural. That came easy. And then offensively, I thought we were great. I thought we are still trying to get in sync with everybody else. Great thing about myself and Kawhi, it doesn't matter. We're going to play basketball. We're going to, try to make the right plays and play off one another and just keep the game flowing. So I thought in that aspect, we were good.
A lot of storylines in this one, but of course all eyes were on Kawhi and Paul George, who were playing their first game together. Yep. They haven't had much practice together at all. Before we get to how they looked last night, are these two the best duo in the NBA right now?
At full strength, at their best, if you're going to get a full-strength Kawhi Leonard and a full-strength Paul George, I still don't think that's the best duo in basketball. I think it's LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and I think Harden and Russ, if Russ can get back to anywhere close to pre-Rocket Russ, they would be in the conversation as well. But right now, with whatever's going on with Kawhi Leonard, and I don't know what's going on with Kawhi Leonard, to me it's not even a discussion. You can't have the reason they would be in the discussion for the best duo in basketball is if you have two top 10 players in the league. And where is Kawhi Leonard right now when he plays? Forget the fact that he hadn't played since last Wednesday. In the month of November, he missed the game before Halloween, then he played on Halloween, and he was sensational. He scored 38 points. The month of November, he hasn't had a single game where he has shot better than 42% from the field. Last night was a game where he seemed totally out of gas by the fourth quarter. They had limited his minutes all through the first three quarters. Now, they didn't expect the overtime, obviously, but even with the 5 minutes overtime, he only played 37 minutes, which means played 32 in the first four quarters. And in the fourth quarter in overtime, he was what? 4 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 2 of 7 from the field. He did make the block at the very end of the game, which was good because the two previous possessions, he fell asleep on defense and Tatum got a dunk to cut it to 3, and then he let Marcus Smart essentially steal the ball from him on the sideline. I don't know what's going on with the reigning finals MVP. He didn't look right last